Hello there, I am fantasy author Dianna Gunn, and today I am here to share how you can plan your NaNoWriMo novel in record time and where you can find a free NaNoWriMo novel planning checklist to help you dive into this in more detail. So let's just dive right into today's tips. Tip number 1. Focus on your characters and your world building first. Some people work plot first, and for a long time I did this too, but what I've found is that when you start with your plot first and you just have an outline and you start writing, inevitably characters grow minds of their own and your story ends up being completely different than what you were planning in the first place. And the easiest way to minimize this effect is to truly understand your characters and the world they live in as much as possible before you write your outline. Tip number 2, I already kind of covered this in the last section, but it is really important to map your setting. If you are working in a real setting, this means getting some maps, printing them out, really understanding them. If you're creating your own setting, this means at the very least you should understand the basic layout of where your characters spend most of their time. And if you're writing some kind of journey story, you want to make sure you know whether they're traveling east or west or north or south. Once you have a basic understanding of your world and your characters and the general geography of where your story takes place, you are ready to progress to tip number 3, which is create a one-page outline. Most of my outlines end up being between 3 and 6 pages, depending on the length of the book I'm writing, and some of them have even been as long as 10 pages. But you don't have a lot of time, so for now I want you to focus on creating a one-page outline that establishes the basics. You need to know when and where your story starts, what the inciting incident is that leads into the main plot, what your main character wants, what they're trying to achieve in the main plot, and where your story will end. These are, in my opinion, the bare minimum of things you need to know to give yourself enough direction to keep writing consistently during NaNoWriMo. I've also found that when I write out these basics, I inevitably come up with some ideas for how the character will attempt to achieve their goal and what will stop them from attempting to achieve that goal. And specific events will come into my mind as I'm writing down these other basics. So let things come to you as you're writing. If you have ideas for how to expand the story points that we just talked about or things to add to them, go ahead, add them. If you have extra time, make the outline as long and detailed as you want. But at the bare minimum, establish those things we talked about earlier. When and where your story starts, what your main character wants, what they're trying to achieve, and where you want your story to end, whether or not you want them to achieve their goal, and some rough outline of how they are going to achieve that goal. If you want more detailed advice on how you can plan your NaNoWriMo novel effectively in the small amount of time we have left before November starts, you can pick up a free copy of the NaNoWriMo novel planning checklist that I personally wrote for WritePlan Editing. WritePlan is an author services company that mostly offers a range of editing services, but that also offers things like web design and is expanding to offer pre-made and custom-made covers in the near future. I've been working with WritePlan for over a year as a digital marketing specialist. I write all of their blog posts and manage their newsletter. And this year I wrote up a NaNoWriMo novel planning checklist for them. You can get it free by subscribing to their newsletter. Please note that this download is only available for a limited time. We are only offering it during October and November. So even if you've already got a plan for this novel and you just want to take a look at what my process is and see what other people recommend, you want to sign up for this checklist right away because it won't be there forever. Alright, so that's the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching. I am fantasy author Dianna Gunn, and I will see you next Thursday.